Tommy played an E flat.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Was that a rare thing?
Well, it was a challenge to the whole tonality of the music, which was, I mean, we'd gone from a situation where everybody was playing below concert pitch, then we go into the concert pitch, and then Tommy arrives on the scene, and he was the first person that I'm aware of that I heard playing in E flat. So that became a kind of a matter of great curiosity for musicians. And it became a fashion. Into the 70s, people were playing in E flat quite a lot, very severe on the fiddle, but you know, that was it. And it gave a kind of an edge to the music. Then he was playing with Matt Malloy quite a lot. And Matt was playing an E flat flute. So now it wasn't just a fiddle, it was fiddle and flute, so you're getting another dynamic. So you're getting, what he was introducing, I think a kind of a new sort of a tonality to the music, which people found very, very, very interesting and very inviting.
I remember hearing or reading somewhere that humans resonate to the note of G. And I went to see Jean-Michel Vaillant play in Cruises years ago, and I was on antibiotics, so I just came down for the concert, which started at 12. And he was playing an E flat flute, and every time he played the F sharp, my spine just went just took off. So I think, again, it might have been something to do with the fact that he just resonated at a different level to most of us. You know, now it's a very exciting key. There was a time, I suppose in the 80s there, that, geez, nearly everyone in the country was playing an E flat for a while. And I think possibly it just suited where he sat himself personally. Again, it's not something I discussed with him because he was doing it far longer than I was playing. You know, he was doing it before I knew what a fiddle was. You know, I think him and whoever else started it, they were kind of the first to do it. I couldn't tell you in a concrete way how or why, but personally I look at him and I think he would agree with him, where he would resonate as opposed to kind of the rest of us.
Just on the, you mentioned he tuned up. You tuned up. Not many play.
Joe Burke couldn't believe it in Duganneely one night. We put them out even above full tone. And Green and the bar, I said, put them up as long. I played the spare string behind the bar here. Burke couldn't believe we put it above a full tone. He said, you have to be Donegal man to tune as high as that. That is Burke's, God rest Burke, that is Burke's contribution to the session. Yeah.
Why would you tune up?
It gives it more magic, it gives it a fairy, and it enhances it. The fiddle's poor, you know, and it gives it, there's a great, Tommy, it's its strength and his bow expression and his fingers. He has very strong, accurate fingers. I mean, a middling player couldn't play it if the fiddle that high, you know.
But Tommy would have often made adjustments to the fiddle, you know, and I don't think he was perfectly happy with the sound of a fiddle 100% of the time. He was always striving for a better and better tone, and you may adjust something and it may not improve, or it may even disimprove, and it'll take a while for the fiddle to settle again, and possibly. I don't know exactly why, but I can understand like that. If you thought the fiddle was going to sound better tuned up to E flat, well, that's where you're going to go. Everybody wants to produce the best possible sound. So.
And that for me was something that was unique about Tommy Peoples. There's no way, I don't think that anybody could mistake his music for anybody else. It's so unique. Well, first of all, the style of the triplet that he had, I suppose, was one thing that stood out. I'm not even sure how he did those triplets, but they stand out. That's one thing. He has a unique way of phrasing tunes as well, which is very different to other people's way of playing, and also the emotion that you can hear in his music. You know, there's a lot of those. There's a lot going on there.
If you slowed down his music, everything was like exactly where it should be, all the time. Didn't matter what speed he was playing at, how fast, how slow. Everything was exactly where it should be. So that precision he had, like there was so much going on with the melody, and yet he could smooth it all out and make it look so effortless because of his bowing. I'm sure there's people way more qualified than me to describe what he was doing.
Who?
Well, no, honestly, like there's people that study it. Like I grew up with it. I like I said, and then I had children, and then Dad was in the States, and when he came back, he was in Donegal, and then he wasn't playing a lot. So I didn't play with a lot of him for the last 20 years of his life. Like I wouldn't have played an awful lot with him. His phrasing was always present, and I think what I noticed the most was that he was different to everyone else. You know, everyone else could play together and it would sound like one voice. And then you'd have this fella popping up. And a lot of the time, and again with Clare, like you have to remember, Clare was full of Cayley bands. And it was all music for dancing. Dad would take little pauses and stuff that wouldn't happen in the Clare music. You know, it was like you played strong from start to finish, and if anything, the phrasing was done by the dancers. He had a way of turning music like into a language, if you know what I mean. So like you were reading a great novel, and there's a comma, and you take your pause and continue on, and your inflection, and you know the dramatics of it or the lack of them, or he had all that when he played. So that was a combination of his melody and his bowing. Like he really, again, I remember saying to him around that time, like that you know you had to follow the melody, and he was going, no. He said your bow hand dictates what your melody does, and that took me forever to figure out. Again, because I had such a clear bass musically, that it was the complete opposite. And the concept of your bow, or what you might do with your bow, deciding where you were going to go with a variation, or what you might do here, or that was so alien to me. I mean, I was listening to it, but I didn't understand it. You know what I'm saying?
So was he saying his bow hand was basically like his pen?
Probably most likely, yeah. And like he was very much of the mind that they were very separate. And the person in the middle was kind of trying to direct traffic, but this one was really in charge. So that his bow hand was kind of really in charge of how he approached a tune.
There's John Doherty's reel. John Doherty's Fancy and Brogan's Ferry. That stuck out. From the minute that Tommy's, the first note you hear there is the F sharp to start that tune, and that sticks out, and that's Tommy. That's just the tone. And the way, you could almost say that every note was a piece of music on its own. And I have this attitude that every note, well, I sort of have, I think Tommy was into great detail in the way even he would play one single note, because every note has a beginning, a middle and an end, and it has a certain duration, and all sorts of things can happen from, you know, it's just time, and time is relative, and all sorts of things can happen. You can vary a tone, all sorts of ways you get from here to here. And that F, he had some way of sliding into it and then increasing depth of the tone and the volume at the same time, and then easing off near the end of it, and then we're away into the tune. And off we go. But that, if there's such, I think there's even in that one note, there's such beauty. But that was often the way. Tommy wouldn't just launch abruptly into a tune. He would, maybe the first note he would ease and maybe draw it out a wee bit, and then we're off. I've never heard him come to an abrupt stop on a tune either. Maybe once on the high part of the road, maybe a bit abrupt in places. But no, he seemed to play every note to get the squeeze as much value out of every note as it possibly could be squeezed out.